So many families, though, they struggle with the time and decision fatigue around meals. What's your approach to bringing like the simplicity without sacrificing nourishment?
One, realizing like at the core, a healthy meal doesn't need to be fancy. And in fact, the fancier I try and get, my kids may or may not push back a little bit, but the simpler meals they don't push back on. Salt and pepper chicken drumstick, always a winner. I would love to have every meal be a little more gourmet, but sometimes the simple ones go over just as well. Usually wanting to mix up the flavor combinations and do fancier sauces, that's more for me. Starting there with the simple meals, that's just like a great place to start, because if you start trying to do too much, it makes it too easy to fall off and like be like unmotivated to do it.
Now, you've talked about food as medicine, and I think very much you exemplify that as during your journey of trying to get pregnant and through that whole process. Well, what do you think modern parents are overlooking with modern diets versus ancestral diets?
Oh gosh, that is such a question. I don't know how to say this like in a nice way, but thinking what they're doing is just, it's been normalized, right? Like, oh, well, this is what a snack comes out of a package. My kids do not eat any snacks that come out of like a little tiny package. If you just start there, to me, that's like the simple place to just like give them a piece of fruit, chop up a vegetable. Those are our two options for snacks in our house. Like we don't have anything that comes from a package, and there's nothing inconvenient about eating a piece of fruit, right? Like an apple, an orange, a banana. Those are convenience foods too. So I think part of it's just like shifting your mindset a little bit around like what's convenient. Even if we're in the car, like we can still take fruit. Like we don't need these packaged items. So I think part of it's just taking a step back and realizing like how far away we've come from what we should be eating.
You're not saying you have to make everything from scratch. That's a trap everyone gets into, right? They think I have to be like a homesteader and I have to make everything from scratch, but I've got, a business, I've got a husband, I've got kids, and I'm just stressed out. But you're just trying to simplify and say like, no, just cut up some cheese, have some fruit, cut up some vegetables, keep it simple.
They'll want to create these like healthy muffins and healthy cookies, and they add shredded vegetables. And I'm like, that's fine and that's fun. And if you want to get your kids in the kitchen, do that, that's great. But let's just start with the basics of slicing some cheese and some fruit, and there's your snack. It's like you kind of go overboard in the other direction, and it's like kind of missing the point.
Has becoming a parent changed how you eat and how you even look at food?
It's added a little more structure. So my husband and I were always good about coming together, and he's also an entrepreneur and works from home. So we were always good at usually breakfast and dinner coming together and eating. With kids, it's a lot more, okay, I especially have one, and it's like, if we do not eat dinner at 5 o'clock, he is like going downhill. There's no flexibility on timing anymore. Yeah, I mean, we always did start with the family meals, but now I really try and get in there and sit down, even if I can sit down with them for lunch. And then also there are gone the days of like not do a full meal tonight, but now I really do try and have something. Although I will say every now and then I'll do like once a month on Sundays, like a snack board where it's just kind of like chopped up different things, whatever is left in the fridge. And it's funny that that's like my kids' favorite meal of the week.
Even as a parent, I found that I'm just like, I'm not cooking as many gourmet food meals anymore. I'm just kind of like following kind of formulas. It's like, okay, it needs a protein, it needs a veg, and it needs some kind of like starch or something. I know the oldest is 6, you said. Are you dealing with picky eating yet? And if so, how are you coping with that?
I definitely see it. It's interesting because from what I've observed with my kids, I don't have any true like what I would call picky eaters by any means. I've noticed when it happens, it's more like a developmental change. I want to be able to like say this and have you listen. Like, oh, I don't want this tonight. And I'm like, but he's had that like several times before. And so I'm just like, okay. I mean, not ignore the behavior, more like acknowledge it. It's usually when they're saying it for my one that says it, it's usually not like a true, I don't like this. It's more like, I want to be able to have this opinion and you listen to it. The one thing I have changed is like if I'm going to do a pasta dish or like something where everything's mixed together, I will sometimes separate out the ingredients because I find it's a little easier for them when like the ingredients are separate. Or like maybe the sauce is on the side, like if I have a chimichurri, I don't smother everything with it. I put it on the side. But yeah, I've really tried from the beginning, to always, just introduce them to everything early and often and really work on my language around meal times and how we introduce foods. And of course, having them involved in the kitchen and man, that makes a big difference.
Yeah, let's talk about that. And I'd love to even dive in more into family meals around the table because that is so important. Let's say they are struggling to kind of get the family together or to establish routine dinners. Do you have any tips for how someone might go around and start to co-create that in their family?
Well, one, having a plan for the week is good because you can step back, kind of know what you're going to have each night. Because if you're going into it frazzled, it's going to make it that much harder. Like, you need to be able to go into mealtime. This is what we're having and at this time. And that way you've already set the tone for, like, we're not going to ask questions about this. Like, this is what's happening. The more you can get them involved, the better. I like to know kind of the meals that work. Like, there might be a meal where you're just like, oh, tonight I'm like so tight on time and it's going to be frustrating. But as much as possible, I get my kids in there and give them tasks and let them help out. And it just gets everyone on board with kind of the whole cycle of diving into mealtime. Gosh, so much so my 6-year-old recently came to me and told me he was going to make every meal for me. He's like, if you want to sleep, I can cook.
That's hilarious, but he's already exhibiting, how you talked about yourself when you were younger, how, yeah, like, I'm going to start taking over the cooking. He's exhibiting those characteristics.
Yeah, we've had to have talks about that because he'll want to just like come up with something new to create on his own. And I'm like, okay, we can do this. And I've told him, I've even said, you remind me of me. And this is great, but we can't just, 10 minutes before dinner, create a whole new dish. I'm like, if you want to create something, let's meet at the beginning of the day and decide like when and where and how it's going to work. So we have a garden this year, and that's been a really good because they'll go into the garden. They love to pick things out of there. And then if an herb came from the garden, all of a sudden they want to try it. But if it just shows up on their plate, they're like, I'm not touching this. Well, and the other day I brought in a zucchini from the garden, and before he could even say anything, my 4-year-old was peeling it, and we cut it up and sauteed it. I don't know why I don't peel my zucchini. It was so much better peeled. I enjoyed, the sauteed. I think roasted it's fine, but sauteed zucchini, that's my new hack, courtesy of my 4-year-old. Peel your zucchinis before you saute them.
Do you have any rituals around the table?
Yep. So we do a prayer before, and sometimes it gets into an argument. Who gets to say the prayer? More Christians, we sometimes will do more of a Christian one. One thing they do at Waldorf, it's the teachers that serve. But of course, now he comes home and he wants to serve. Sometimes we'll have dinners where the kids will serve, and they love that. We can't do that every meal because it's a process. But it's so funny watching them imitate what they've learned, because everyone has to stay seated, and then he gets to call everyone to come up one by one. And he serves them. We have to light our candle if we want seconds, and he'll serve seconds for us.
If you enjoyed the clip from the podcast, make sure to check out the next video up here, or head over to watch the full episode down here. And before you go, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Come on. Yeah, thanks for watching.